Welcome back into the Breakdown with Benny. We are back into another great week of sports talk action, and we are ready to recap what was another great sports weekend. Well, there was one big event going on over the weekend, and it was happening in the world of the WWE. It was the Royal Rumble, and now the Royal Rumble has come. It has went, and we know who the winners are. So let's take some time today to break down the great card that it was and go over the women's winner and the men's winner of the Royal Rumble and everything in between. Starting off with what the show started off with, which was the Women's Royal Rumble, the 30-person Rumble. And man, was this an absolutely entertaining one. I actually think the women's one could actually even be better than the men's one this year. We saw 30 great entries, starting off with the tag team duo that was Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Number one was Miss Flair. We waited to figure out who number two was going to be, and it ended up being her tag team partner after both of them had kind of argued on SmackDown saying, well, the Royal Rumble is everyone for themselves, and it's only one winner. You can't have a tag team winner. Well, after a little bit of them playing around with each other, showing that they were maybe about to hit a finisher on each other with Alexa Bliss trying to show off that Sister Abigail, and Charlotte Flair showing off the figure four, but both of them eventually said, I'm just kidding, we can work together. And they waited until entry number three, which was actually Kiana James, the manager of Julia, an interesting first person to come into the ring. And while she was the first person to come in after the tag team, a elimination didn't take place until there were 8 competitors in the ring. And it was actually Lola Vice, the first NXT girl to get the nod in the Royal Rumble. And this Rumble was stacked from head to toe. You had the NXT gals like Lola Vice, Jordan Grace, Sol Ruka. You also had the actual NXT champion, JC Jane, making an appearance. Ex-NXT Julia, Lash Legend getting the push. You had all of the Judgment Day, Raquel Rodriguez, Roxanne Perez, Liv Morgan. You had Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Asuka. You had the return of Brie Bella to work beside Nikki Bella, which was easily the biggest surprise of the night. You had the return from injury for Tiffany Stratton. You had the IC title, Becky Lynch, the debut of Natty, not Natalia, Natty. And it was just stacked from head to toe. Now, there were several feuds being shown in this Women's Royal Rumble. Whether they were past or present, it didn't really matter. One of the best ones that we got to see go toe-to-toe was Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch. And it's also important to mention that Charlotte Flair is your women's Iron Man for the Royal Rumble, coming in at first, and she didn't get eliminated until she survived for 59 minutes and 50 seconds, the longest person in the ring during the match. Now, there was also eliminations started to come in at regular intervals once more and more people got into the ring, but they were able to keep a healthy number of competitors in the ring at any given time. I mean, I'm pretty sure there was a point where there was about 13 different people in the ring. Absolute chaos. Now, this match included a lot of great moments, but there was one major complaint that I really saw online about the actual match. And they said that everything just felt a little bit too rehearsed. Now, I never quite got that sense, but I could see where they were going because it did feel like the same storyline. A repeating pattern of the new entry coming in, having their short sequence and short burst of success, showing off their moves, and then they would mesh in with the rest of the competitors. I could see the point there, but overall, I thought it was great. I mean, it sounded like the crowd was really enjoying themselves, but it was hard not to notice how choreographed everything was while watching on the TV at times. Now, in my opinion, this was a really good Royal Rumble match because, like I said, there's multiple storylines. I mean, you had the storyline of Liv Morgan eliminating Raquel Rodriguez. You had Charlotte Flair eliminate Alexa Bliss. Whether that was an accident or not, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be a storyline going down the road. Now, it did look like Flair was actually trying to save Alexa Bliss before she fell down, which maybe means that that spot wasn't supposed to get rid of Alexa Bliss. It was actually supposed to just get rid of Nia Jax, but nonetheless, they still ended up eliminating Bliss, and now they're going to have to roll with that as a storyline, whether that might break up the duo or not. And then there was another fun moment where Alba Fire on the outside as the secret herbalist for Chelsea Green saved Green from being eliminated when she was hanging on the ropes. Alba Fire slid underneath her to give her something to put her feet on and then saved her from being eliminated. Well, Chelsea was eliminated a little bit down the road. Now, the final four, well, it ended up coming to a great list of names. It was Raquel Rodriguez, it was Liv Morgan, it was Tiffany Stratton, and it was Sol Ruca, with Sol Ruca being the longest person in that ring at that moment. Well, it didn't take long for Liv Morgan to eliminate Raquel Rodriguez, which will be a fun storyline to follow up on Monday night, whether that might cause some tension between the old tag team champions or not. But then it came down to three: Tiffany Stratton, Liv Morgan, and Sol Ruca. And man, what a sequence we got. The double soul snatcher in the corner against Liv Morgan and Tiffany Stratton, for all of them to end up on the apron, fighting on the apron. I mean, one wrong move, the wrong person gets eliminated. Well, Tiffany Stratton used Liv Morgan as a springboard to go after Sol Ruca. Sol Ruca went up into the air. Tiffany Stratton pushed her off, oblivion by Liv Morgan, and Liv ends up picking up her first Royal Rumble win. And what a match it was. I mean, she had been in so many Rumbles. I think it was about 9 different ones, and she had not won one yet. So it's definitely time for her to get that push. Plus, if you remember, she was actually already slated to get a title push before she got injured in that match against Kairi Sane all that time ago. But that is how the show started. What a great match it was. Liv Morgan is your winner, and we got some great returns like Brie Bella and Tiffany Stratton. Well, then the show was set to move on, and the next match was the highly anticipated Gunther versus AJ Styles match, where AJ Styles put his career on the line against Gunther, and the ring general won their encounter a few weeks ago, but Styles technically made him tap out first on Monday Night Raw. That's what led to this rematch, but Gunther only said he would do it if Styles put his career on the line. And with how they were hyping this match up and how they were booking AJ Styles in the past couple weeks with his match against Shinsuke Nakamura at Saturday Night Main Event, with a surprise championship match against CM Punk, a guy who he never fought in the WWE. I mean, it was definitely setting up for AJ Styles to retire. But this match was overall great. I mean, they started with a great headlock sequence that saw Styles trying to wear Gunther down, where he also ended up working on Gunther's leg with some kicks to soften up for that calf crusher. We saw a lot of momentum going AJ Styles early, but they were able to pace themselves and use a lot of different holds between short bursts to quicker moves, which made this match last a while, but also have continuous action throughout the match. Well, later, they were able to keep pacing themselves, and Styles came up bleeding after a move from a cut on his arm after being slammed on the announce table. Ended up bringing a little bit of blood into this match. From a technical standpoint, this was a fantastic match between the two. However, there were times where it did feel just a little slow, but towards the final 10 minutes of that match, it was nothing but non-stop action, with Gunther eventually getting that sleeper hold in on AJ Styles. AJ Styles trying to fight out of it. He did get a late Styles clash where it looked like maybe so AJ Styles could win this match. There was also a point where Gunther was going crazy in the corner, where I thought to myself, well, if he got DQ'd here, what would that mean for Styles' career? Would Styles be able to come back or not? Well, none of that really mattered, because once Gunther got in that sleeper hold, we all knew it was never going to be released. And AJ Styles did not tap, but he did end up passing out. And Gunther walks out victorious and retired his third fighter now, adding to the list of John Cena and Bill Goldberg. And the stadium just fell quiet. It was deafening. Everyone was surprised. No one wanted to say goodbye to AJ Styles, but we had a short moment in the ring where he took off the gloves, put them back on, showed his love for the crowd, and then walked away. Now, he will probably continue wrestling, but it just won't be on the WWE roster. And what momentum this gives Gunther. I mean, he is retiring everyone's favorite, and he says he's here to steal the moments and give the moments back to himself where they belong. And that's definitely a moment for him right there. Well, after that, we had one more match to go through before the men's Royal Rumble. It was the undisputed WWE Championship match between Drew McIntyre, your new champion, and his first event for Sami Zayn, the man who has never won the title, but also who performs crazy in front of the Saudi crowd. There was 3 storylines, according to Sami Zayn, going into this match. One, Sami Zayn had never won the undisputed WWE Championship. It was a title that always eluded him. Second, he was 0-11 against Drew McIntyre heading into this matchup. Third, he was undefeated in Saudi Arabia, never losing a match. So you really didn't know where this was going to go. Now, I believe that Drew McIntyre was going to win because it didn't necessarily make sense to take the title off him right now and keep his title reign so short. It felt like we really want to give him this moment, so you got to keep his moment going. But going into this bout, Zayn was definitely the underdog. As, like I said, the champ had an 11-0 record against the challenger. But as expected, the underdog from the underground was the overwhelming fan favorite. McIntyre tried to assert his dominance right away, but Zayn didn't let him have the upper hand for too long. And we all know how Sami Zayn fights. He is the king of selling, but also the king of just getting beat up on, but then having these random late surges where he wins this match. He's actually a lot like Nick Diaz, where the bloodier he gets or the more fatigued he gets, the better he gets. And much like the Styles and Gunther match before them, they paced themselves and took their time working up to the big stuff, but they didn't take it quite as slow as I would say Gunther and AJ Styles did. It really felt like they wanted to milk that moment with AJ Styles in his final match, as to where they wanted to make sure to keep the action going but not go through it so quick. They were getting near falls much earlier in the match than expected, and they were kind of going back and forth, but late in this match it just became a Drew McIntyre story. He just applied the pressure and applied the pain and never just like relinquished, never stopped. He just kept going for Sami Zayn, who kept kicking out of the Scots finishers, which helped keep the outcome from being as predictable as it may have been at first. For a second there, I really thought Sami Zayn was going to win. You had the moment where he hit the exploder in the corner, trying to set up the haluva kick, but it ended up becoming the Claymore by Drew McIntyre, and he's won as expected. But there were moments where I felt like Zayn might actually get the victory, like I said, which always helps make a match more enjoyable for the fans. But towards the end, Drew McIntyre also was highly sadistic in the way he won. He hit Claymore after Claymore, punishing move after punishing move. I mean, he hit 3 aftershocks in a row on Sami Zayn. And then after hitting a Claymore, he said, "I'm not done yet." He went into the corner, begged Sami Zayn to get back up, told him, "Look me in your eyes," and then Claymored him in the eyes, and then eventually pinned him for the win to keep the title for himself. And man, this was a great match. And Sami Zayn does not get enough credit for how good he makes other wrestlers look. He is a king at selling, whether it's through his body or through the actual facial expressions he makes. There was this powerbomb during the match where Drew McIntyre put him through the Saudi announce table, and man, he sold it perfectly. I mean, he looked lifeless laying there. It was a great match, and it was setting up what was the main event that everyone was ready for. The men's Royal Rumble, which, by the way, I also have to say, the men's superstars need to stop spoiling everything, because imagine Brock Lesnar's return in this Royal Rumble if he didn't go on the Pat McAfee show and announce it, or the Roman Reigns one, or the fact that Obafemi was going to debut at the Royal Rumble. What if you just kept hyping up Obafemi with that same commercial package without saying he's at the Rumble, and then he makes that surprise entry? It would have been a lot better, but nonetheless, we were still highly anticipated for what was supposed to be a massively stacked Royal Rumble card. And it was. We had great stars across the board. And who did I just mention? Obafemi. And where did he come in at? Number 1. You talk about a great push. Putting him at the number 1 entry to the Royal Rumble. Giving him the full walk down, the full pyro, the one-on-one chance. I mean, it was great. Who was number 2? Well, that ended up kind of getting spoiled before the event even started, because during the event pre-show, Paul Heyman was going at Adam Pearce, arguing with him earlier in the day because of where he had Bron Breakker entering. He said, "You want to play FAFO with me, I'll play FAFO with you," which was an interesting little storyline, and we'll have to see the payoff of that down the road. But when Bron Breakker came out with Paul Heyman at his side, some shenanigans happen. A masked man with a hood comes out, attacks Bron Breakker. What finisher does he hit? Well, it was the curb stomp, which definitely points to Seth Rollins. But it's kind of crazy to think if Seth Rollins was actually healthy enough to make this return. The masked man under the mask did have a beard, you could tell that. But I think it's 3 names that it could possibly be. Actually, let's throw 4 out there. I think it could easily be Seth Rollins. They want you to believe that. Maybe keep it just as simple as they did with picking the winners of the Royal Rumble. It could be Austin Theory being the disciple of Seth Rollins. The build was awfully similar to him. And some people are pointing towards Logan Paul as actually being the guy who dressed up and ended up curb stomping his own Vision member. And then someone I would like to throw into the mix is Finn Balor. I do think it could be him because he was salty at the fact that Adam Pearce had no slots left for him in the Royal Rumble. The build was awfully similar to how Finn Balor is built. Of course, Balor has that iconic beard that could be hidden underneath the mask. We don't know who it is because they didn't reveal themselves. They ended up running right back into the crowd, and now we're going to have to figure out down the road over the programming, proudly on this road to Survivor Series, who ended up taking out Bron Breakker. Well, they ended up throwing him into the ring. The Rumble started, and Obafemi had his first elimination. Matter of fact, Obafemi ended up eliminating the first 5 people in this match, which did tie him for the most eliminations in the Royal Rumble this year. Well, once he ended up going face-to-face with Damian Priest, he finally matched someone, or found someone that he couldn't match with. And then we ended up getting some more and more bodies throughout this match. Now, we had some great selections for this Royal Rumble and some great debuts. You had a Powerhouse Hobbs, who was rumored from being signed from AEW, actually make his debut at the Royal Rumble, officially confirming that he is now a WWE superstar. And what was actually kind of interesting is the fact that they showed the Powerhouse Hobbs entrance, which is coined by the AEW, before switching it to Royce Keys. And that's kind of, to me, just the WWE being a little bit petty about it. But he is a great addition to this roster and actually has a large history with Cody Rhodes over there at AEW, something that Michael Cole was having a hard time not mentioning during this match. Well, we also had some great returns, like Rusev, who had been out of action for a long time, LA Knight, the same thing, and then also you had the return of Chad Gable, aka the original El Grande Americano, which led to this funny moment where El Grande Americano ran out. He had his moment. Right after him, the board said original El Grande Americano. Chad Gable was able to eliminate the imposter, as he would call it, and then he turned around and got eliminated himself. You also had some great guys coming over from AAA, like the always funny Mr. Iguana and Yeska, and then you also had La Parka as well. But this Rumble was stacked from head to toe. And by the time they got to 20 people, or the 20th entrance, there were 11 people active in this ring. And then things started going very quick. Happening very quick, maybe even to a fault. We got the head-to-head matchup that I was saying was most likely going to happen during the Rumble of Brock Lesnar and Obafemi, because it's kind of clear to see that they want Obafemi to be that next Brock Lesnar. But it ended up leading to Brock Lesnar eliminating Obafemi, but then quickly right after that, during a Jey Uso entrance, Cody Rhodes and LA Knight turned around and eliminated Brock Lesnar. Things were just happening so quick towards the end of this Royal Rumble match. It'll be interesting to see how the back room reacted to it during the episode of Unreal when that ends up coming out down the line. Well, we ended up getting other entries like The Miz, Jey Uso, Roman Reigns, Jacob Fatu, and Penta late in this match. But the final 4 ended up coming down to Logan Paul, which definitely goes back to maybe Logan Paul was the guy to eliminate Bron Breakker so he could really try to push himself instead of have to try to push Bron Breakker. Well, then we had Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, and Gunther. With that stacked of a Final Four, you knew Logan Paul was definitely going out first, and they went ahead and got him out of the way. And then Randy Orton turned around, hit an RKO on Roman Reigns, but before he could do anything about it, Gunther capitalized, grabbed Randy Orton, and threw him over the ropes as he was celebrating. And when he was asked in the post-game show whether that had something to do with him being another one of these old wrestlers just searching for another moment, Gunther simply said nothing. He kind of implied that that's exactly what it was. So then it became a one-on-one between Gunther and Roman Reigns. This could have been an historic night for Gunther if he turned around and won the Royal Rumble after he retired AJ Styles. I mean, he would easily be the biggest heel in the business and the biggest thing in the business right now. I mean, his entrances to Raw would have been so loud with the boos being deafening, and he would have been so just like unbearable to watch, but in all the best ways. So I definitely kind of wanted Gunther to win. But Roman Reigns ends up hitting a spear on Gunther, tossing him over the top rope, and the Tribal Chief is your winner. Now, having Reigns win wasn't the most exciting decision at all, but the match as a whole was a fun. I definitely did tend to like the women's one a little bit more. It felt like I didn't know who the winner was. Towards the end, I really started to think that Roman Reigns was the winner, the clear-cut winner. Plus, he had all the rumors circulating that he was going to end up winning this thing too. Now, it might not have been the ending we wanted, but it could have also been so much worse with some of the winners. I mean, we all saw the discourse over Jey Uso winning last year. The WWE took a shot on a newer talent trying to push him, and the world didn't really like it. So now they go with the safe option in Roman Reigns, and we'll have to see who he tries to take on, whether it's an insane matchup between CM Punk, the two old Paul Heyman guys, or whether the rumor that I saw of Cody Rhodes eventually getting this title back from Drew McIntyre, and then you run Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns again at WrestleMania. That would be my least favorite of the two options right now. But it was a great Royal Rumble. It's in the books, and your two winners are Liv Morgan and Roman Reigns, punching their ticket to WrestleMania. Now we're staying on this road to WrestleMania as it keeps heating up, with the next big PLE being Elimination Chamber. So we'll have to see which superstars end up punching their ticket into that one as well. Well, that's going to wrap up this segment here. Now we're heading to a short commercial break, but when I come back, we will continue sports talk action with the NFL coaching carousel, so stay tuned for that.